good evening. Welcome to the Oxford Cambridge Club and welcome to our Oxford MBA information event. My name is Mandeep Mahal and I'm one of the recruitment managers for the Oxford MBA, and I do support candidates who are based in the UK. I am joined by some of my colleagues. I can see Mike at the back, give us a wave. I can see also I've got Elena. We also have Gisela, Jamie and Stephanie, but I think they're outside, but we'll point them out sort of shortly for you. For today's session, so I'm going to go through the Oxford MBA, I'm going to run through the application requirements. We will have the opportunity for some questions as well. And then I'd say sort of the most exciting part of the evening is that you'll get the opportunity to hear from our alumni panel. So it's a great opportunity to hear about their experiences, why they chose Oxford, and for you to ask them your questions. Okay, so let's get started and let's take you to Oxford. So I suppose when you think of Oxford, this is the image that will come to mind. This is very authentic Oxford. So this is, so you can see actually the Radcliffe camera, which is at the forefront of the picture. We've got the Sheldonian Theatre, which is just behind the Radcliffe camera. So that is where you would matriculate and graduate. We then also have some colleges that you can see sort of within the picture as well, sort of some of those quads. So what I'd say is really important when you're considering an MBA at Saïd Business School, it is the University of Oxford that you're applying to. And I would say that you actually get the best of both worlds because the business school itself, it is a new business school. We celebrated our 25th birthday a few years ago, and in fact the next picture that I'll show will show you the school and you'll see how modern it is, but then really embedded in that world-class university that is 800 years old, full of history, full of traditions, and you'll really sort of get to experience that with the college, and I will speak about the college experience that you'll have sort of later on in the presentation. But then, in contrast, this is the business school. So, as you can see, very different from that previous picture. Very new, very modern. So I mentioned that we just celebrated our 25th birthday a few years ago. And everything that you need for your MBA will be at the school. So this is where lectures take place. This is where our faculty are, our careers development centre. We do have a library at the school as well. In fact, on the first floor, you can maybe see sort of some pictures from there. I'd say that it's probably the most modern library that you'll have at Oxford. And actually, I'm not sure if anyone's actually been to Oxford. You can easily get to Oxford within sort of around 50 minutes. So you can get a train either from sort of Paddington or Marylebone, and actually the business school is very conveniently located opposite the train station as well. So whilst you're on the MBA, if you need to get into London for any sort of networking events, it's very easy to do so. And then just to give you sort of some details of the one-year MBA. So traditionally in Europe, MBAs tend to be 1 year. And I suppose with anything, there's some pros and cons to that. It is less time away from your career. I think for some, the idea of even giving up sort of 1 year, let alone 2 years, is a lot. And within that 1 year, you're able to put your learnings back into the workforce quicker. In terms of those opportunity costs and tuition fees as well, I suppose if you're thinking of that 2-year programme, which is going to be higher tuition fees and also more time away from your career, it is going to be an intensive year. And in fact, some of the conversations that I do have with students, they don't realise sort of how intensive it's going to be. But then actually, on the other hand, I'd say some of the conversations that I have had with students is that they actually find that they're able to thrive in that intensive environment. If you're looking to make a big pivot in your career, that's not to say you can't do that with the 1-year MBA. We've certainly seen candidates who have been able to do that. So let's say, as an example, if you're looking to change your function, your sector, your geography, what we call the triple jump, that is something that you can absolutely do, but just understanding the amount of work and effort it is that you're going to have to put in. But we do have conversations with candidates just to find out in terms of if the 1 year or the 2-year programme, which one is right for you. But then, if you are considering a 2-year programme, we do have something called the Oxford 1+1 MBA, which is actually a very unique programme where it allows you to combine a master's degree with an MBA. So if you are looking for a 2-year programme, it's still a great opportunity, and actually you're walking away with 2 degrees, and it is 2 degrees from the University of Oxford. So we have partnered up with a number of different partnering departments within the wider university. I'd say it's very sort of 2 unique years that you would have. So so for your first year, it would be an academic sort of deep dive into a particular subject. But then when you come onto your second year to do the MBA, I'd say it's very much a practical degree. It'll be a larger cohort. And it's a really sort of fantastic opportunity. It does come with the opportunity to apply for a scholarship. So there is the Pershing Square Scholarship, which is a great, fantastic scholarship which allows you funding for both years. And we do actually have an alumni sort of Tulsi on the panel later who did do the 1+1. So if anyone is considering the 1+1, you'll get to sort of hear about her and her experiences. Okay, so if we dive into a bit deeper on the course curriculum, so this gives you sort of a snapshot, so a year at a glance on the MBA. So something new that we've actually introduced for this year, so our incoming class that will be starting sort of in a few weeks' time, we're getting excited to welcome them. There is a pre-program that has been available for them. So the pre-program is a virtual program. It's not mandatory, it is optional. And the pre-program is really designed, it's essentially a boot camp to get you ready and equipped to start business school. So one of the core courses that we do have on the MBA, and in fact, you'll find that with any other MBA program, is that accounting, that finance. And if you're someone who doesn't have that background, let's say your experience is something completely different. Let's say you're working in marketing and you've not had that experience working with numbers, you may find that core course might be something that's daunting to you. So with the pre-program, it's designed to really sort of get you ready. So it's there's a number of sort of virtual content. It's the pre-program, so we have modules for everything that is a core course, and I'll go into the core courses in a moment, but it is there, that's available for you, so you can get sort of ready and start thinking about the MBA. And then in a few weeks' time, so we're welcoming our cohort in September on the 23rd. And for the first 2 weeks, we have what we call launch. So launch is sort of a great fun 2 weeks. It's really sort of classed as orientation. We're getting you, you're getting to meet the rest of your sort of cohort. We'll put on some great speakers for you. There'll be some college dinners. So a great sort of fun 2 weeks. And then after those 2 weeks, that's where the fun really starts happening with classes. So you'll start with your core courses. So everything in red is a core course, and that's what you'd expect to find in any other MBA program. So really giving you those fundamentals of business. And in fact, I just mentioned the pre-program. So there will be sort of virtual sort of content for each of those core courses that you're able to dip in and out of should you wish to. So it's very set to begin with in the first term in Michaelmas, and actually I should mention that in Oxford we have many traditions. One of those is that we do name our terms. So we do have Michaelmas for the autumn term, Hilary for winter, Trinity for spring, and I think we ran out of names, so we went with long vacation, but I'm afraid it's not a vacation, you will be working. So throughout Michaelmas term, so you'll be working on those core courses, but then as you get into the Hilary term, you'll finish up those core courses, and then you've got the opportunity to then really start personalising your MBA towards you. And you can do that through elective modules. One thing that we have actually changed this year is that previously the programme, I would say it was more sort of 60% core courses and then 40% electives. We've actually switched that around now. So I'd say it's 40% core and 60% electives. And in fact, you can see sort of through Hilary and Trinity, you've got the opportunity to really sort of personalise your MBA towards you through elective modules. I would say that we have such a wide range of elective modules available as well. We have electives in finance, leadership, entrepreneurship, strategy, and so on. So a very broad range, so you can really think about sort of how you want to sort of personalise your MBA towards you. We do also have some international electives. We have doing business in Africa, which is actually quite a popular elective. It's a practical elective, so it's not within another business school, but you'll be sort of visiting, you'll go to Cape Town and you'll be meeting CEOs, businesses, and understanding how business is conducted on the continent. The other international elective that we do have, I don't know how we get away with calling it international because it is actually in London, but it is away from Oxford, but that is a fintech elective. So that is something that you could look to do should you be interested in. And then I know the programme team are looking at exploring sort of more international electives as well. So in Hilary and Trinity, that's when you'll work on your electives. And then in the final term, you have some more options available to you as well. So one of them could be to do more electives, which I'd say is actually a popular choice among students. I expect that they want to take advantage of that theoretical learning that you're exposed to at Oxford. And because we have so many available, you can look to do a further 2. The other option could be to do a strategic consulting project, SCP as we like to abbreviate it. That's a very sort of niche project, and I would say for that it's a group project, so you'll work with a group of students and you're essentially becoming the consultants for a particular client or organisation. So if you are looking to get into consulting, it's a great way to get some hands-on experience. They might have you solving a particular problem or working on an efficiency. And then the other option is to do an internship. So you still get that internship opportunity within the 1-year programme. It is a shorter duration, but you can work quite closely with our Careers Development Centre in securing an internship. So if you're someone who's looking to make a pivot in your career, then the internship is a great way to do that. Then I'd say that the programme is complemented by a number of co-curricular activities. And I would say at Oxford, we're not really known for one thing. Though, actually, maybe I'm going to contradict myself and say that we are known for impact, so we do have a slight focus on impact. And actually, you can see on the slide, we do have the impact lab. So, and when I say that we're known for impact, we don't expect all of our students to go into an impact-driven role. If you're someone who wants to work for, let's say, a global organisation and your goal is to make loads of profits, loads of money, great, you can absolutely do that. If anything, we believe those decisions go hand in hand. You can certainly look to do that, but you can also think about the impacts you're going to make, whether that be on the environment or on your workforce. We're really teaching you to become responsible business leaders. So the Impact Lab is actually a popular co-curricular that you could look to get involved with. It's run by the Scholl Centre for Social Entrepreneurship. There is a network that they can introduce you to. I know there's particular workshops, but then we have so much available. So if you're someone who's interested in finance, there is the Finance Lab that you can get involved with, and that's really dedicated to those who want to break into, let's say, investment banking or private equity. It's run by John Gilligan, who has a wealth of resources, connections, so he's got the right connections that he can introduce you to. There will be some competitions that you have to take part in. You'll be working on some case studies. We have the Consulting Development Programme, which is run by the Careers Development Centre, which is something that you can dip in and out of throughout the year. So if you're someone who's interested in consulting, I would say there's so much on offer to you at Oxford we have Oxford Business Networks, which are student-led networks. There's different clubs that you can look to get involved with. And what's really great is that we see each year, if there is enough interest from students to form a new club, then we've certainly seen that through students. I know a couple of years ago, there was enough interest for a luxury marketing club that was formed. So there's so much available to you at Oxford. And then there is also the Talent Development Programme, which is run by the Careers Development Centre. And I'll speak about the Careers Development Centre in a moment in the presentation. But I'd say the Talent Development Programme is really looking at those softer skills that you're looking at for the MBA. So whether that would be sort of looking at your presentations, consultative selling, sort of networking, there's a number of sort of opportunities within that Talent Development Programme. And then this just gives you a snapshot of the electives that we have. So as I mentioned, we have a very broad range of electives available. I'd recommend sort of going on to the website to having a look at the full list. Some that I do actually want to mention is just the Go-To and the Entrepreneurship Project. I'm not sure if anyone has been researching the programme for a few years. If so, you may have noticed that they've actually been removed from the core curriculum, but they're still there, they are available, they've just moved to an elective format. So should you be interested in those, then you still have the opportunity to work on those. And they are some great projects. So I know with the Entrepreneurship Project, that is very sort of popular among students. There is, if you're anyone who's interested in entrepreneurship, you can really look to explore that throughout the MBA. So with the project, it's you have to come up with a business idea, a plan, and you need to present that to a panel of venture capitalists and other senior leaders. And we've certainly seen students actually leverage an idea with the Entrepreneurship Project and actually gone on to launch their ventures. And then, this is just a slide for the pre-programme that I just mentioned sort of earlier as well, that is new for our class that is starting. So and this is sort of how it looks like on the platform that would be available. So there'll be a number of sort of content that is available to you that you can look to dip in and out of. Okay, so if I give you some details of our current class profile, so this is for our current class and they are actually going to be graduating. In fact, it's actually capstone for them this week. So I know they have their end of course ceremony. I believe it's on Saturday. But in terms of class size, so class size has varied over the last few years, but I would say that we expect a class of anything from sort of 330 to 340. We like to speak about diversity on the programme, and you can slice that in so many ways. So if you are thinking about it geographically, then absolutely yes, we do have that. So 97% of our class is international. We have 63 nationalities represented. But I think it's really important to think about that through other lenses as well. So looking at it from a gender lens, I think is really important. And really, we were really proud this year that we actually hit gender parity on the MBA. So, and in fact, if you look at sort of business schools, I know with some programs, whether law, medicine, they have reached that gender parity, but for business schools, it's something that hasn't really been done. And we've been sort of steadily climbing. We were there sort of at 45, 47, 48, and we were really delighted that we hit. In fact, it was actually 51%. So it was the first year that females outnumbered the males. And I think it's really important to think about that classroom discussion that you're going to have. You want to ensure, in fact, employers are going to be looking for candidates who are used to having different discussions in different environments, and I think it's important to think about it from a gender lens, and then also from a professional lens as well. So I suppose when you think about MBA, you may think about finance, consulting. We certainly attract those candidates, we certainly welcome those candidates, but we also have a number of candidates who come from different backgrounds as well. So whether that would be in tech, engineering, we've had sporting professionals on the programme, we've had lawyers, people from media, government, and I think again that's really important to think about that richness that you're going to have in that classroom setting. It may sound very cliche, but I'd say half of what you're going to learn on the MBA is actually going to be from your peers. So I think it's really important to think about that. And in fact, actually just speaking about that professional diversity, so this slide just gives you a snapshot of that. So you can see, yes, consulting, finance, and then also sort of tech is something that has risen sort of over the last few years. But then you can see sort of that slide on the right, and I hope that you can see it in terms of that breakdown. So a very sort of diverse in terms of thinking about that from a professional lens. And then speaking about that international diversity, so this sort of gives you a snapshot of the numbers that we had for that year. I would say that it is fairly spread out. There of course are certain regions that we would like to increase our representation. And in fact, we have seen some of the numbers, like, so for example, actually North America was actually sort of lower for last year, but we have, in fact, we will be releasing sort of our statistics soon for the class that will be starting in September. But yes, a very sort of geographical sort of diverse cohort that we do have. And then the Careers Development Centre. So there is a careers provision that is provided to you throughout your entire year on the MBA. And in fact, that support actually starts early. So with it being a one-year programme, usually in the summer months, you'll start hearing from the Careers Development Centre, and they'll encourage you to get ready to start thinking about your career going forward. What I would say with the Career Centre is that it works both ways. They are there to help and support you, but it's also the work that you're going to put in, and we certainly encourage you to really make those connections with the Careers Development Centre. The way the team is split, so we do have teams that are looking at different sectors. So we do have a team looking at consulting, finance, tech, and then anything that sort of sits outside of that is global industry. And then we do have impact as well. So do look to make those connections. We do have industry advisors that you can look to get expert advice from. We do have recruiters that do come on to campus. The centre are there to help you when it comes to sort of CV writing, thinking about those interviews, and also networking as well. So you do have that provision that's provided to you throughout that entire year. And in fact, this just gives you that roadmap. So I did mention that you do get that in the summer. So this is actually the roadmap for the class that is starting in September. So I know there are particular sort of sector panels. So I know, for example, actually consulting, if you're someone who's interested in consulting, the team will invite you to some panel discussions to start sort of thinking about that and how that's going to work for you. And they do have a CV book as well. So they'll encourage you to start getting your CV ready, and that will be sort of published in an employer book. And then this is just some information from our employment report, which is for our class that graduated in 2023. In fact, I'd encourage you to go onto our website and have a look at the report. There's some really sort of useful information on there. But in terms of sort of careers outcomes, so we do see those more sort of traditional, I suppose, MBA backgrounds such as consulting and finance do tend to be quite high up there, and that's something that we have seen over the last few years. I say tech is something that has certainly risen, and I know the Careers Development Centre have sort of seen that over the last few years as well. But there is a lot more sort of useful information in there if you're looking at salaries, and in fact this gives you some information about salaries and also locations as well. So for those of you that are here, if you are, I'm assuming that everyone is based in London or certainly based in the UK. And if you are considering sort of staying in the UK post MBA, then you'll see that the MBA is certainly sort of a well-trodden path to do that. We do see majority of our class do want to stay in the UK. And they've been able to do that all in Europe. But then also I would say sort of North America or Asia tends to be second. In fact, we see a mixture certainly with North American candidates who are either looking to go back to North America. Something that's quite interesting from this report actually is that we did see an increase in the Middle East. And actually this is something that our Careers Development Centre have mentioned. So if you're someone who's looking at a consulting firm, and actually if you're considering it one of those top MBB firms, they are actually, we've been told that they are hiring sort of aggressively in the Middle East. So there are a number of sort of opportunities there as well. And I suppose they do come with sort of generous sort of salaries as well. But there's a lot sort of great sort of useful information in that careers report, the employment report, that I would encourage you to have a look at. And then if we speak about colleges, so something that's really unique, I would say I say unique to Oxford. I know, of course, Cambridge has a collegiate system as well. But as an MBA student, you are required to become a member of a college. And I would say it's going to be a different experience actually to undergraduate. So whereas as an undergraduate student, some of your teaching will take place at college. I mentioned earlier that everything that you need for your MBA will be at the business school. So really the college is really an added value for you where you can look to expand your network. And I expect for many of you, if you're considering an MBA, you're looking to expand your network, and you already have ample opportunities to do that at business school. I mentioned how diverse our network is, but then you've got the opportunity to actually expand that even further within the wider university. And the University of Oxford, it is considered the greatest university in the world. We attract so many people, bright minds. So when it comes to the college sort of experience, so we have those college dinners, and I suppose the best way to maybe describe it is sort of like Harry Potter. I'm not sure if there are any Harry Potter fans in the audience today, but you have those college dinners, those dining halls, those long narrow tables, and you could potentially be sitting next to someone who is studying zoology or literature, arts, and think about some of those fascinating conversations that you're going to have. You've got the opportunity to join a sport or a society with your college. So rowing is something that is very big, so you're welcome to try that out, though whether you want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's cold and try that out, that's entirely up to you. I'd say there's so much on offer to you at Oxford. If you're someone who's into something very niche, I'd say the likelihood of it being available, if there's going to potentially be a club available at Oxford that you can join. Each sort of college has the MCR, sort of the middle common room, so that's usually where everybody does look to sort of get involved. It's a great hub. And also when it comes to choosing your college actually, in terms of the process for colleges, so if you are successful in securing a place, you do get the opportunity to choose your college. You get the one choice, and if you get that college, great, that's that process over with. However, if you don't get your first choice, then you don't get a second choice, and you are allocated into a college. I would say that sounds more daunting than it actually is. I think what's really important to note is that all of our colleges are unique. They have their own traditions, their own quirks. I've not heard of a student or alumni sort of who's had a bad college experience. I think some ways to sort of consider a college as well. There are some colleges that will take a high number of MBA students. So one way you might consider it is actually thinking that the Oxford MBA, it's only a one-year programme. I want to strengthen those connections with my MBA cohort. So I want to be in a college that is predominantly MBAs. Though maybe on the other hand, you might think, well, actually, no, I've got my community at the MBA during the programme at the MBA. So maybe I want to choose a college that has a smaller number of students from the MBA. But then in that case, it's just understanding sort of the likelihood of you gaining membership at that particular college. And then in terms of the Oxford experience, has the further experience, so we do have the Oxford Union, so that is also something, so you will have lifelong membership as a student. So the Oxford Union attracts so many sort of great speakers. We've had actors, we've had politicians, heads of state. I've heard of students really getting to hear from some really sort of exciting people. There is that famous sort of debating chamber as well. In fact, during launch and also capstone, you've got the opportunity to actually get involved with the debate as well. I mentioned the different sort of speaker events that we would have, the society clubs. In terms of speaker events, even at the school as well, we attract so many sort of great speakers that you'll have the opportunity to hear from. There are some big sort of flagship events that take place at the school. So we do have the Entrepreneurship Forum, we have the Scold War Forum that takes place. And then we do have the MBATs. Has anyone heard of the MBATs? Yes, someone at the back. Okay, so the best way to describe the MBATs is mini Olympics for European business schools. So it's something that HEC Paris host each year. And there's traditional sporting activities. So there's football, track, basketball. They also have some very other random activities as well. I've heard you can play poker, trivia, I think there's Battle of the Bands, dance. And Oxford, up until this year, we were reigning champions. So we had won the MBATs 4 years in a row. I'm afraid this year, back in May, we did lose out to LBS, though I did hear LBS did take MFE students. So I don't think that's allowed considering it is the MBATs, it has MBA in the title. But this is a picture of our class that actually graduated in 2022. So they were the first class after COVID that were able to sort of go back to the MBATs. So, and even though we didn't win this year, I know the conversations that I've had with students, like the MBATs tends to be a highlight of the year. It's a great opportunity to come together with your cohort. And if you don't want to participate, you're more than welcome to go to Paris and cheer on your cohort. And also it's a great opportunity to actually expand your network as well. So it is with other European business schools. So you've got the opportunity to expand your network further. Okay, so in terms of what it is that we're looking for and application requirements, I can go into a lot of detail on this slide. I'll try and keep it sort of very brief and speak about it high level. But if you do have any sort of questions afterwards, we're happy to take those. I think first of all, what's really important to say, and I know that this is maybe a very sort of typical business school response, but I'd say that we do look at applications holistically. So not one criteria holds more weight than the other. We're going to look at your overall profile. Now, we do have guidelines of what we say is competitive, but we don't have any minimum requirements. So if you're someone who's slightly lower, maybe in one aspect, you can certainly look to balance your profile out in another aspect of your profile. But in terms of what it is that we are looking for, so we are looking for a bachelor's degree. We are looking for a good undergraduate degree, a good GPA. So we do ask for that to be equivalent to a UK 2-1 or above. Again, that's not a hard requirement. We've certainly seen candidates who have achieved lower, and if so, think about how you can look to balance that. We don't have a preference to what discipline it is that you've studied. So sort of speaking about the diversity that we do have, we see a number of students come in who have studied a range of different degrees at undergraduate level. So we do ask for you to upload your transcripts to your application. Now, if you do have a slightly lower GPA, then one way that you could look to balance that is a GMAT or a GRE. So we do have a GMAT or a GRE requirement. We don't waive that test. In fact, everything that you see here on the screen is mandatory. So we don't have a preference to what test it is that you do take. I know that is a popular question that we do get. So I would encourage you all to have a look at both the GMAT or GRE. You may find that one may play better to your strengths than the other. If you are considering the GMAT, I know that there is the Focus edition now, and I believe sort of 605 or above, I'd say, is considered competitive. I think in terms of the median, I believe our median is sort of equivalent to a 635, but then actually as that median is 635, that certainly shows that yes, we've had candidates who have achieved higher, but then we've also had candidates who have achieved lower as well. With the GMAT and then also with the GRE, we look at your verbal and your quantitative scores. So I would say sort of 160, 161 on either verbal or quantitative is considered competitive. But with the GMAT and the GRE, I'd encourage you to have a look into both tests. Do look to prepare. It is something that can be a big, significant time factor when it comes to preparing your application. And when you take the test, and in fact, when you're taking the test for the first time, it's new, you've not taken it before, and when you receive your results, you may find that actually it's different to those results that you were achieving on those practice tests. And I would encourage you to really sort of think about your test result, and are you happy with that? Do you feel that that does reflect your best capabilities? And if so, then great. Think about how you can look to strengthen your application in other ways. But if you're not happy with your test result, then you may want to think about retaking the test. We've certainly seen candidates take it more than once. I've seen candidates take it 2-3 times. That's certainly not going to reflect on you badly. It's really important to think about, you want to put your best foot forward and you want to submit a strong test result that is reflective of you and your capabilities. In terms of professional experience, so we ask for at least 2 years postgraduate work experience. I know all schools like to speak about averages, so I'd say that we see an average of 5 to 6 years experience, but I'd say that's just an average. I'd say that the experience can range from anything from sort of 2 years up until, I'd say sort of 13, 14 years at the upper end. I think it's really important to think about when it is the right time for you to embark on an MBA, and that's different for everyone. In terms of the work experience, so the committee are going to be considering your progression, so how it is that you've progressed in your career. We want to see that you've got some real hands-on experience that you're able to share with your cohort and draw upon in the classroom. And we don't have a preference to which sort of particular sector that is. In fact, I spoke earlier about that professional diversity that we do have on the cohort. In terms of sort of essay questions, so there is a supporting statement. It's a very open-ended question that we do ask. The question is there anything that you would like to make the admissions committee aware that's not been captured in your application? So it's a great opportunity for you to say anything that you would like to. So some examples could be is to actually address it maybe like a personal statement. You may wish to address an achievement that you've had within your professional experience, maybe your academic experience. In fact, you may find that the application is very professionally focused, and you may wish to use that space to tell us something about you, about a hobby that you have, a passion, an interest. I've seen some candidates use it to address a shortcoming that they have in their profile, and I suppose by doing that they are demonstrating some self-awareness to the committee. So it's entirely up to you what you use that space for. There is a word limit on there, which is 250 words, so quite a tight space, but a great opportunity for you to say anything that you would like to. We also do have a post-MBA career plan that you need to complete, and I would say that this is really a vital part of your application. So the Oxford MBA is a one-year programme. It is going to be fast-paced, it's going to be intense. So we really sort of encourage you to think about what it is that you want to do post-MBA. And in that plan, there are a series of questions. And in fact, those questions, they've designed to be quite reflective actually. So it will get you thinking in terms of what it is that you need to provide. But the committee are looking at what it is that you want to do post-MBA. How is the Oxford MBA going to help you achieve your goals? What professional experiences do you already have to date that you can successfully build upon? What preparation is it that you've started to do or that you're going to do? I would say that we want to see that you, of course, are going to be successful. So there are a series of questions in that career plan. We do ask for references, so references are important. We ask for 2 references. We advise that they can be professional or academic, though I'd say if you've been out of academia for some time, then you would want to go for some professional references. I would say this is when you can and you should be quite strategic actually when it comes to selecting those referees. You want to select people who are going to say nice things about you, who people that know you well and who can comment on your strengths and your abilities and who are going to be an advocate for you in your application. So we ask that you do upload professional contact details to your application, and they will receive some details to complete a reference for you. In terms of that English language proficiency, so if you are not a national of an English-speaking country, then you will need to demonstrate your language proficiency. If, in fact, I'm assuming that most of you are sort of based in the UK and working, so we do offer professional waivers as well. So if you've been working using the English language, then we do ask for you to upload a statement just to describe to us your experience of using English. And then sort of finally, as part of the application, we do have an online assessment that you would need to complete. So the online assessment comprises of 3 questions. And it's really there, it's designed for us to be able to see how you're able to think and react quickly. So there's 3 video questions. The way it works is that you'll see the question, you'll have a small time frame to gather yourself, prepare your answer, and then the video will start recording and you'll be on camera answering a question within a short time limit that has been set. Now, there is the opportunity to practice. So there are some practice sessions that you can do, and you can do that as much as you like, getting used to being on camera, watching yourself, hearing yourself back. Those practice answers that you do record will just be for you, sorry. No one in the committee will get to see those. But when it comes to the live assessment, you only get that one take. So do take advantage of those practice sessions. And then, so applications are open for 2025. We've just had our first stage deadline. I did speak to someone earlier who I know has applied in stage 1. Has anyone else applied in stage 1, or is it just that gent? Okay, great. Okay. Well, best of luck with your application. We have 4 more stage deadlines left in the cycle. I suppose the question is, that some may have, is what are the differences between the stage deadlines, and is there benefits to applying early? So yes, there are benefits of applying early. So I suppose if we think about at the start of the admission cycle, that's when, particularly in stage 1, that's when all of our places are available, and it does get competitive as we move throughout the year. I would say through sort of those early stages, so stages 1, 2, 3, and actually potentially 4 as well. So stage 4, that January deadline that we do have, that tends to be, it coincides with a university scholarship deadline. So we do receive a high volume of applications in that January deadline. So actually for that final stage, there have been times where we have operated on a wait list. It has gotten competitive. But I would say it's really important to get the balance right. Don't force your application in early if you're not ready. It is the University of Oxford that you are applying to, so you want to ensure that you're applying when you're ready and when your application is at its strongest. You can only apply once in the admission cycle. So let's say if you did apply in stage 2 and you were unsuccessful, I'm afraid you can't apply again in stage 3, 4 or 5. It would be for the following year. So really ensure that you're getting that balance right and that you're applying when you feel that you're ready. And then just to end with then, I'm not sure if I'm actually early or if I'm on time, but I just want to leave you with this quote that is from our Dean, Sumitra Dutta, who started back in 2022. So I'll leave that for you to read. But it just emphasises, I mentioned sort of that focus that we do have on impact and just that intersection between business and society.